This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Hi, George Gordon here, and our guest from the Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center in Vancouver, naturopathic physician Dr. Katie Leah, and Kirsten McEwen, a registered holistic nutritionist. And we're talking today about the body cleanse, getting all those bad things out of your system, part of really a nutritional regimen that you could consider. Let's talk about how you get started with this, and who wants to take this one away?
I can start.
Yeah. Okay, Kirsten.
So I think number one is to choose something that feels right for you and to be realistic, really realistic when you're making that decision. So really thinking about, is it possible for me to do this right now? And if it's not, then that's where we can come in and kind of help you decide, okay, if this doesn't feel realistic, how can we scale back so that you feel like you can properly follow through with this? If you haven't done a cleanse before, you might want to choose something that's a little bit more gentle and not go to like the most strict, restrictive cleanse protocol there is out there. Be gentle with yourself. You can get there later if you want to. One thing I always discuss with clients is timing, and I know you do this a lot too, Dr. Leah. You know, is this the best week to start? Do you have 3 functions this week that you might not be able to control what you're eating? Is it better to wait till next week maybe? And if so, I would rather see somebody wait a week and do it properly than try and kind of suffer through a really crazy week doing a cleanse.
Yeah. Or to have to start and stop and start and stop again. Yeah.
Do people go overboard sometimes? If left to their own devices, they either cheat on it or just try and starve themselves and just drink nothing or have nothing but water. There's dangers in this.
Certainly, yeah. Both ends of the extreme are not ideal. I mean, we're always trying to encourage, sometimes sort of finding a place in the middle that is more sustainable. There's times where absolutely, we will encourage people to maybe lean more towards the sort of the cleaner side. But a lot of people, they don't have to get the effect of a cleanse. They don't have to be the most restrictive.
I think planning ahead is another really important point to make. Making a grocery list, stocking the fridge and your pantry with those cleanse-friendly ingredients that you're going to be eating a lot of. Maybe looking through and picking some recipes that you like that fit into that and making sure you have those ingredients on hand. Maybe a menu plan for the first few days. And again, that's where Dr. Lee and I can sort of fill in the gaps for you. And all of these things are just going to help you to keep on track. If you know what you have to do, it's a lot easier to stay on course.
Yeah, and staying on track is really important. One of the other ways of doing that is do it with a friend or do it with your spouse. Have somebody else that you can go through this experience with. And I think that just sort of keeps us more accountable. It also lets us sort of share an experience with another person as well.
We do this a lot at our office. A bunch of us will do a cleanse all at once. And just so everybody knows, Dr. Lee and I do all the cleanses that we subject people to.
Oh, you walk the walk.
We walk the walk on the cleanse front. So yeah, at work we'll do this a lot. There'll be a group of 4, 5, or 6 of us who will all do it together, and we, might make a potluck lunch or something, and it helps a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Now I do notice that both of you seem to have a coffee in front of you.
I can speak to this. A coffee is certainly my vice, and it's
mine's actually a tea.
Kirsten's is actually to the people who can't see the coffee. Kirsten's is tea, mine is coffee, and that's one of those first things that when we're doing even a gentle cleanse, we try to take things like coffee, sugar, alcohol out of the diet. Now I am absolutely an admitted coffee drinker, and I find that the first couple of days of no coffee is a very uncomfortable experience for me. So I can certainly speak to the caffeine withdrawal headaches and the changes in energy. But that is one thing that it's amazing what happens to your body when you take caffeine out. And then when you reintroduce it back in, if you haven't had it for a while, you become much more aware of the effect of caffeine in our system. So that's one of the things at the very early stages that we try to take out. I am clearly not cleansing right this very second.
I actually took coffee out of my diet in a cleanse about 10 years ago when I was going to nutrition school, and I haven't drank coffee since, actually. So that was one of those things, like we talked about earlier, that I took it out and I didn't realize how horrible it made me feel. And I kind of made the decision at that point that maybe it's better if I don't have coffee. I've had it by accident about twice.
Well, I know by accident, of course. Um, let's talk just a little bit about that. I mean, that is probably one of the most common things that everybody shares is having a cup of coffee. And I can't start my day until I've had a cup of coffee, maybe two. What does is it the caffeine that does something to your system? Tell me about that.
I think it is. I think part of it's the caffeine. Of course, for people who also put cream and sugar in their coffee, they're drinking a double double every
Well, that's
day.
bad. Oh my.
Yes, the bad news is it is bad.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's not just the caffeine that affects our system. It certainly is all of the other stuff that we add to our coffee as well. But caffeine, it's a stimulant, and in the early stages, certainly we see lots of changes with that. Our heart rate goes up. Our body temperature changes. We certainly get a little boost in energy, but over a very long period of time, we stop seeing the same benefit from caffeine that we had initially when we started. And I think that caffeine definitely then becomes just more of a habitual, a little bit of an addiction as well for us.
I think it's important to think about how you use coffee too. Like if you're one of those people that you get up in the morning and you need to have a coffee to get your day going, then it might be something you kind of want to think about addressing. If you kind of, you miss a day having coffee, no big deal. You're not thinking about it all morning. Or you have coffee more when you are socializing with friends, going out for coffee or something. That's a little bit different. So I think it's really important to differentiate how you use coffee and to be honest with yourself about that.
It can be addictive. I mean, I've tried quitting coffee a couple of times. It's not good. It's not good. But you do get headaches.
Yeah.
Or like you go through a withdrawal, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't remember what that's like, but Dr. Leah can speak to that
Yeah.
more probably.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are lots of things that change when you cut, foods or other substances out of your diet. We talk about these as some of these, we call them sort of like the healthy housekeeping symptoms, that your body is changing. It's sort of getting rid of toxins and waste products, and that your metabolism is shifting with just sometimes a small change in diet.
okay, let's talk about how long a cleanse should last. And does it go in stages? Can you give me an idea if I was starting a cleanse tomorrow, how you would start me off, how long it would go, and what would happen?
So probably for a few days before you start your cleanse, we'll get you to eat a little bit lighter. So maybe a little bit less, say, dairy products or animal products, maybe less gluten or breads, things like that. And then, so yeah, just easing into it for a few days. And that's just going to make the transition easier so that when you start the cleanse, it's not this huge shock to the system. Probably most cleanse protocols are going to be on average a week or two. I'd say any less than a week, you're probably not going to get the full benefit from it. Any longer than a couple weeks is probably just unnecessary. And then on the other end of the cleanse, you're probably going to eat a little lighter for a couple of days coming out of the cleanse as well.
So I'm going to take it that if you're a coffee drinker, coffee goes out, right?
Yeah, coffee does.
The glass of wine at night.
It does as well.
What else are you going to do to me here?
We're probably going to cut out the refined sugars from your diet as well. So these are things that show up in, baked goods and treats and, candies and desserts. That's another really important one for us to cut out at the very beginning.
Those are kind of the worst offenders.
So what are the good foods that you can eat during this time when you're not having your coffee or your glass of wine or the lovely bread that I'm already missing? But what are some of the good things that you can have that can speed along the process?
I think that's a really important question because usually that's what we open with because people, might run away if we open with what we just talked about. So we usually talk about what you can eat first because it makes it seem a lot more manageable. So lots of fruits and veggies, gluten-free grains, so like things like brown rice or quinoa are typically acceptable foods on a cleanse. Healthy fats and oils, so things like coconut oil, good quality olive oil, again, often.
Coconut oil, if you don't mind taking just we started using that in our house. If you're doing rice, for example, or if you're even frying an egg, I'm stunned at like coconut oil, but it is and why is it so much better than like non-hydrogenated this or that?
Coconut oil, we love coconut oil. Coconut oil is really unique because the type of fat that it's made up of is called a medium chain triglyceride. And a lot of people say to me, Kirsten, why should I eat coconut oil? Coconut oil is a saturated fat. Aren't I supposed to be avoiding saturated fat? But the type of fat found in coconut oil, those medium chain triglycerides, affect the body in a very different way. And what they actually do is it's the body's preferred source of fat energy. So we can use that fat almost as we would carbohydrates for fuel. So we don't usually store medium chain triglycerides, which is very unique. It can also help boost metabolism. It's antibacterial, antifungal, anti-everything, really.
Yeah, it has a high cooking point.
Yes, and it's very stable with regards to heat. So we can use it for high cooking temperatures, like roasting vegetables in the oven or frying an egg, for example.
Or if you take a teaspoon and sort of put it on like one of your nutritional crackers, it just adds, I'm just saying, that it does make them taste better. So is this relatively new? I mean, we're always looking for new and natural substances that take away from using butter or margarine or other oils. Are we beginning to understand, as we cut down all of these trees that provide us these things, are we having a better understanding of the good nutrition of different oils and different natural products?
Do you know what I think is happening is that we're going back to basics. Like we're going back to how people used to eat. So we're foregoing margarine, which is a processed food product, for things like even butter, is more healthful than margarine. So, going back to having good quality butter, coconut oil, or good olive oil. And that's kind of how our grandparents and great-grandparents used to eat.
Well, and it's amazing that the older we get, or as our generations mature, that what worked suddenly becomes the nouveau thing again today. I think it's important, just briefly before we run out of time again, if we wanted to, if somebody's listening wants to get in touch with you, they can go to get some of the answers at integrative.ca. Will they find a number there? And if they pick up the phone, how do they make that first contact?
Absolutely. Our website has a lot of information about the clinic itself, our location. It has our contact information. It also has a list of our practitioners, and it has our bios as well. So each one of us is a little bit unique in our practice and our approach, but you can go onto our website and you can read about all of us there. And then when you call into Integrative, we have a wonderful group of staff that will field your questions, try to also help guide you in terms of what's the right fit for you, who is the right practitioner, and then we get you started on your path to wellness from there.
Well, it sounds too simple, really, but it's not difficult. We're talking today about detoxifying the system, doing the body cleanse a couple of times, maybe a year, a week or two out of your life, where you just prioritize what you need to get out of your system for a while, what you should be eating. Drink lots of water. And make sure that you've got some guidance as you're going through this, so that you are eating the correct things and getting the right things out of your system. Also that you're getting some support and that a little encouragement, or if you're running into problems, it can do so much, not just to get rid of the laziness, the ugh feeling and so on, but it seems to me that you are giving yourself longer, better quality of life by doing this.
Absolutely.
All right. You've been listening to Boomer Life. Today, the Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center has given us Dr. Katie Leah and Kirsten McEwen, registered holistic nutritionist. More information at integrative.ca. This is George Gordon on CIL 650.